Before we jump into our 3C framework, which makes social media super simple, it's going to break it down in a way that you probably haven't thought about before. We have to change our thinking around social media. So let's reframe what most people have as goals around social media that really doesn't fit into our context as real estate agents. First is, I need to go viral. You don't need to go viral because if you went viral with millions and millions of views all over the country, as cool as that may be, that's not going to help your real estate business. And if you're taking this course, your goal is not necessarily to make money from just views and clicks on YouTube. And if it is, there's some great courses out there that we can connect you with. Your goal is to get organic leads from your social media posts. Well, if you go viral, that often implies that you're getting millions of views from everywhere around the country, maybe around the world. But you're probably only licensed in one or two or a few states. You're probably not licensed for the entire country. So if you were to get millions and millions of views because you went viral, that's not really helping you get the organic leads, which is what your goal as a real estate agent should be when it comes to social media. So I want you to replace the idea of I need to go viral with this thought. I need to be famous to my people. Well, what does that mean? Well, who are your people? Most real estate agents generally have a niche that they work in. Maybe it's first-time home buyers. Maybe it's the luxury market. Maybe it's seniors. Maybe there's a couple of those that you work in. You need to become famous to your audience. And maybe if you're a newer agent, you don't have a niche just yet. Maybe you're trying to kind of develop that. Then your niche is just who's currently following you on social media. And it's okay if that's 300 people. It's okay if it's 300,000 people, but your goal as a real estate agent should not be to go viral, but to be famous to your people. So your people could be, who is my niche, or who already follows me? Who do I already have a relationship with? Become famous to those people. And what do I mean by famous? Be in front of them pretty consistently. All right, so you need to be famous to your people. Another thing that we have to kind of reframe is I need to get as many followers as possible. Well, you need to get the right followers. In the same way that you would do this in the real world, if you wanted to have a specific audience, what would you do? Well, let's say your specific audience was seniors. You'd probably go to where seniors are at. Or if they were first-time home buyers, you would create maybe events where first-time home buyers would be drawn towards. It's the same thing when it comes to social media. It's not get as many followers as possible. It's let's get the right followers. Another common idea that needs to be reframed when it comes to social media is it needs to look perfect. It needs to be highly produced. I need to get the best videographer and the best video editor, and all those cost thousands of dollars, and I just don't have that money or the time to do that. Well, here's the good thing. Followers on social media aren't really looking for highly polished and perfectly looking productions. They're looking for authenticity. In fact, studies have actually shown that if something does look highly produced or perfect, people are actually swiping past it because they think it's an ad and it's something that's going to try to sell them something. So they move right along. So you and your iPhone just filming a selfie video actually might get them to stay just a bit longer to make that connection with you in a way that you wouldn't get if you did hire the production crew and the people that know how to make it look like something that should be on the Super Bowl commercials. Another common thing that needs to be reframed is I need the perfect brand before I start. People aren't looking for brands to follow first. They're looking for relationships and people to connect with. And then your brand should support who you are. Gary Vee has been talking about this a lot. He's been saying lately that people's relationship are now going to move away from brands where the individual will become what the brand is built on instead of just a sandwich like McDonald's or some other item. We're moving into an era where the brand is going to be the person. So if you don't have all of your logos and brand colors and fonts and everything perfectly done and well laid out, that's okay. You can still start on social media. The final misconception that real estate agents have when it comes to social media is leads only come when I have thousands and thousands of people following me. But there are a lot of agents out there who have 300, 500, 1,000 people following them on social media, which in social media terms isn't a lot, but they are still getting organic leads from their posting, even with what we would call low followers. The idea of becoming famous to your people is the idea of becoming famous to your people is a thread that we're going to follow throughout this entire module. Again, you're a real estate agent. You're not trying to get money by going viral and having YouTube pay you because you're getting millions of views. If that was your goal, this isn't your course. But your goal is to get organic leads. So to do that, we have to think a little bit differently. Success is not in the number of followers you have, but in the engagement of the followers that you have. And there's a difference. If I was just trying to get paid by views, I would want high numbers because hopefully that high numbers would be them just consuming the content, which is how YouTube would pay me. But that's not how we as real estate agents are going to get paid. We're going to get paid because the people that we are posting content to are engaging with our content. And then whenever they need a real estate transaction, we become the trusted person because they feel there's a connection. So again, the success is not in the number of followers you have, but in the engagement of the followers you have. So let me ask you a question. Let's take social media out of the equation for a second. We're not thinking about social media. We're not answering this question in terms of social media. If you boil down what you do as a real estate agent in terms of lead generation, what is the number one foundational portion of that? It's relationship building. So let me ask you the second question. Would you love to be in a room with 300 people who you were the only real estate agent with in that room where you could give 5 minutes to explain why your services are going to help those people in the room or to build relationships with those people in the room? Maybe it's not going to be an immediate transaction that happens, but just because of the relationship you are building in that room with those 300 people, you know that some of them, a percentage of them, even if it's only 1 or 2% or 5% of them in the next 12 months are going to do a real estate transaction, and you could have 5 minutes to talk to them to build that relationship. Would you take advantage of that? All of us would say a resounding yes. So if you have a social media platform, and maybe you're telling me, Tony, I've only got 300 followers. That's okay. It's the same as if you're in a room of 300 people and you get to post that content to build that relationship as often as you want. When you do that well and you start to realize the success is not in the number of followers, but how they are engaging in my content, that's whenever you will start to see organic leads come through your social media platforms, even if you only have 300 followers. Whether you have 300 or 300,000, this framework is scalable for us as real estate agents, but we have to reframe our thinking. So, number one, the goal is to be famous to your people. We're not chasing going viral, we're chasing connection. Viral thinking is a virus for real estate agents. Relationships are the cure. I have personally seen how agents start a YouTube channel, for example, begin to put out good educational content, and they don't have hundreds of thousands of views. They have anywhere from 500 to maybe 3,000. The top end of their videos are getting 10,000 views, and they're getting hundreds of leads a month on brand new YouTube channels because people are seeing them as the expert, building a relationship through these platforms and reaching out to them to do real estate transactions with. That needs to be our goal as real estate agents. Become famous to your people. So we have to engage the right followers, okay? What I mean by that is maybe you have engagement of your followers, but they're not the right followers. I'm not talking about your mom. I'm not talking about your peers. I'm not talking about your vendors. When we are crafting our social media posts, we have to look at who is engaging. If it's just my mom, if it's my other real estate peers, if it's my vendors, that's great, but that's not necessarily going to lead to transactions. We want to begin to make content where the right followers are engaging. So the thing that we are going to measure is engagement. How can we know if our social medias are doing well, if it's really resonating with our viewers, is we watch their engagement. Look, this is the same thing that you would do if you were talking to somebody. Let's say that you are at a networking event and you begin to engage somebody at that networking event. What would you do? You're having a conversation. Now, if that person is looking you in the eye, they're laughing at your jokes, they're connecting, they're moving forward a little bit, then you can tell by their subtle engagement cues that they're interested in what you're saying. But on the opposite end of the spectrum, if the person that you're trying to engage with is trying to walk away or on their phone texting and looking down or these other engagement cues, then you can tell the conversation was over before it started. The conversation that you're having is not something that's going to lead into anything because the only thing the other person is looking for is a way out. In the same way, the same thing happens on social media. We can define our success on if we're going to begin getting organic leads through our social media posts by our engagement that we are seeing our followers doing. Now, again, this is the right followers. This is not your mom. This is not your peers, not your vendors. So what engagement are we looking for and how do we measure success? If you are a good real estate agent, you know that the numbers tell a story. You know if you have a certain amount of appointments, the statistics show that you're going to get a certain amount of listings. If you have so many conversations, the statistics show that you're going to end up with a certain amount of transactions because people do business with those they have a relationship with. So if you're engaging in conversations outside of social media is what we're talking about here, then they're going to engage with you whenever the time comes as terms of a real estate transaction. Now, when we move it to online, what are the things that we are looking for when it comes to engagement? We want our followers to be commenting, liking, sharing, or giving us a direct message based off of the content we provided because that's their engagement, right? Think about it like this. If you're a comedian and you're standing up in the front stage area and you're giving, your set, you can tell the people like your content based off what? Based off their claps, based off of the laughter. And then that energy begins to build as the two-way interaction starts to happen more, right? But in the same regard, if you're a comedian and you're on stage and nobody's laughing, the room is quiet, there's no laughter, you know that jokes are being thrown out there, but it's just awkwardly quiet, then you know the jokes aren't good and the people probably aren't coming back. The same is true when it comes to social media. What a comedian is looking for ultimately is connection with his people. And if he's not connecting, he's not going to be able to get the results that he wants. It's the same for us. If we're putting content out there and we're not getting likes, we're not getting comments, then that means viewers are probably just scrolling past us, which is okay. Everybody has had this problem. I want you to reframe your thinking that, all of my social media postings, they're not getting the likes, they're not getting the comments, and then we just give up. No, we're not going to give up. Just like a comedian, I can guarantee you most comedians have had a lot of shows where they just bombed. But what did they do? They went back and they refined their jokes until they saw the audience engage. It's the same with us. We are going to walk you through a process where, number one, you can understand what is the success formula. We have an actual formula that I need to use to measure my engagement. And then how do I refine it and tweak it to where I start to see that success formula happening and then continue to do more of that content where then as people are connecting, when they connect with you, you will become the first person they think of when it's time to do a real estate transaction. And that's the beauty of social media and how it works. Whereas a comedian has to wait to get into a live show environment to be able to test his new content for the live shows, you can test your new content as much as you want every day because social media is 24/7, 365. So we can quickly refine our content to determine, is this landing or is this not landing? And if it doesn't land, well, that's okay. We're just going to try something new tomorrow or in 3 hours or in 2 minutes. You have this ability to continue this refining process and figure out what works for your audience. And then once you find it, here's where the magic happens. You just keep doing it. We're going to talk about that in these modules. All right, so now that we've reframed our thinking around social media, we're not going to worry about going viral. We're going to become famous to our people. We understand that numbers don't matter. If you have 300 or 300,000 followers, you can still get organic leads. And we're not going to worry about having to refine our process. How do we do it? Let's jump into our next module of how do we define what success is in terms of our engagement.